My thoughts on door knocking as a real estate agent in the year 2020. Keep in mind before I get started that some offices are not allowing their agents to go out and door knocking. They're having restrictions due to shutdowns, and also some local areas have rules that people have curfews and people can't leave their home at a certain time. So before I begin, make sure that you follow those guidelines above all else, of course. And if you're not allowed to door knock now, just practice your skills and wait until the time comes when you're allowed to. First rule to follow when you're door knocking is to stand way back. Remember that you're on somebody else's territory, and always be mindful that you want to appear as non-threatening as possible. So once you knock, make sure that you take a few steps back, maybe 3 or 4 big steps. That gives you a little bit of space. Stepping back after you knock does 2 things. Number 1, it gives them more respect and it gives them more personal space, which is a good thing. They'll feel more comfortable. And number 2, it makes you look less pushy, which being pushy is never a good thing, and you look less anxious when you have a little bit of distance. Another tip when door knocking is to remember to always ask questions. If before you go door knocking, you feel a little nervous and you feel like you don't know exactly what you're going to say, even if you practiced it, remember that it's not so much important what you say. The answer is that you should not say much. Nowadays, people have a very short attention span, and if you just keep going on and talking, you'll lose their attention quickly. So what I like to do, and this might help you, is when I go to the door, I knock on the door and I'm ready to say my thing. Basically what I do is I go and I present myself. I say who I am and what I'm there for, and then I shut up. And I give a nice little pause. That way I don't appear as pushy, and also if they have anything to say, it lets them think about what I'm saying and also lets them react too. You guys, if they have any interest in your product or service, if you're going door to door selling anything, they will mention it. It will come out when they talk. You don't need to force any sort of conversation. You can ask certain questions to steer a conversation in a certain direction. However, it's just like back in middle school when you were too nervous to talk to somebody that you liked and you were thinking about all those things that you need to say. Usually, if you went up and spoke to that person that you liked, you'd tell them a lot of stuff about yourself when you shouldn't have done that. Just introduce yourself and try to find out about them. You don't even have to think of anything to say. It just naturally comes from them and the pressure's off you. Now, if somebody says something negative to you, or if they get upset, or if they raise their voice, remember to let it brush off your shoulders. You have no idea what could be going on behind the door. It could be the worst day of their life. They could have just gotten home from work, or they could just be in a really bad mood. And even the best of us have our worst moments. So remember, if somebody gets upset or if they raise their voice at you, it's not about you. It probably has more to do with the kind of mood that they were in before you got there. If somebody appears to be impatient or they raise their voice at me when I'm at the door, what I try to do first is I try to remind them that I'm going to leave pretty soon. I'm going to get out of there pretty quick. I just had something to inform them about, or I just had a quick question. Then after that, try to ask your question, get the information that you need. And if they really don't want to, then they'll tell you again that they're not in the mood, they're not interested, whatever. At least try for the second time, because the first time they say not interested or I don't want to talk about this, it could just simply be a brush off. That second time that you check, you'll probably get a feeling they're really not in the mood, or this just simply might not be the best time. You could come back at a later time, or the next time you knock that door, you'll get a nice conversation with them. Now, worst case scenario, if somebody's not having it, they won't even hear your question, they don't seem to be answering anything that you're saying, they don't seem to be hearing what you're saying, that's not the right time for them to talk anyways. It's time for you to move on. Just smile, say thank you, and move on, because the quicker you get to the next door, the more likely you're going to see somebody else who needs your help. Finally, bonus tip when you're door knocking. If you knock on the door and somebody is very talkative, they're nice, usually an older person will keep going on, and you don't want to be rude, but you want to get out of the conversation. Don't be rude, don't just leave them right away. However, you do want to be efficient with your time, because this time that you spent talking to one person could be time that you're meeting other people. It doesn't mean that this one person isn't valuable. However, you have other things that you need to get to. Just let them know, hey, I have an appointment that I need to get to. And you do have an appointment. Your appointment is that next door. So remind them that you need to get going, you have this appointment, and get their information. So that way you can continue the conversation at a later time. So check it out. When you do that, you're polite to them. They're a nice person. You didn't say anything rude. You politely ended the conversation so you could go to the next door while maintaining a connection with somebody who's very nice and likes to talk to you. These simple tips will help you when you're at the door. Go ahead and watch it again and watch it over a few times so that way you absorb it. And go ahead and click this playlist that I made that will help you as a real estate agent. Don't forget to subscribe so you keep getting videos like this. One more reminder, when you guys go out there door knocking, follow all the guidelines and all the safety rules that are out there.